Okay, I want to welcome everyone. Happy Monday. Beautiful day out here in McAllen, Texas. And we have people from different parts of the world on this call. The reason people joined this call was because they heard about the law of attraction and they may have read the books on the law of attraction. And people want to know how it works. People want to know, how to attract things in their life. Well, let me tell you guys, the law of attraction is a secondary law. The first law is the law of vibration. Okay. Now, what we're going to get into in this talk, which right now we're gonna do an hour. Okay. And what we're going to get into is situations from the past that have happened to you. Now, I'm not talking about you in general. I'm talking about just life, right? And we're going to talk about paradigms, things that hold you back from getting to the next level. We're going to talk about who you are, not your name, but who you really are. And we're going to talk about what the transmutation of energy is. Now, this study, this material it goes back a long time, okay? And it totally changed my life, okay? And it's still changing my life right now. Some of the books that I like to read is The Science of Getting Rich by Wallace Wattles. Also, Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. That's Napoleon Hill right there. I'll talk about these people right now and the stuff that I went through. And in this journey, you have to get used to being alone, okay? You have to get used to being alone and believing in yourself, because we're in a state of confusion. People don't understand what what the ether is, what the space between you and me is, what the law of relativity is. People don't understand this stuff, but we use it every day. We use it because we're using our phone. So I'm able to get a message across to you, but we take advantage of all the technology, but we just don't understand how it works. So to understand how it works is you have to, have a goal. In the first chapter of Think and Grow Rich, it says, you have to have a burning desire. Okay. And all you need is a pen. And the reason I say that is all you need is a pen is because when you write this stuff down, that is the first step towards the creation process. So like, to give you an idea, if I open up my wallet, I have my goal written down, okay? So you have to have a goal written down, and I want to cover the steps with you on how the thing that you want starts to manifest into physical reality. So the first law is the law of perpetual transmutation. This is from the book, The Science of Getting Rich. The second law is the law of relativity. The third law is the law of vibration. The fourth law is the law of polarity. The fifth law is the law of rhythm. The sixth law is the law of cause and effect. And then the seventh law is the law of gender. So the law of gender states that there's an incubation and gestation period to every seed. We know what it is for a woman having a child is 9 months, right? When she has a baby. But we don't know what a spiritual seed is. When you write down your goal, that is a spiritual seed. And in some cases, like for Bob Proctor, he created a company that operates all around the world. He was in Glenview, Illinois, when he wrote that down. But it literally took him like 30 something years to make that into reality. I think it was close to 50 years. He's been personal growth and development for like 57 years. Okay. So a little bit about me. I used to work for a bank, Chase Bank, JP Morgan Chase. And, in 2010, I had went through a DUI, and I put someone in a coma. Okay. Now, luckily, the guy survived, but I was actually in jail. So I did 2 months in Cook County Jail in Chicago, and then I did 4 months in boot camp in a military program. That was in 2010. So when I got out of jail and got out of the boot camp program, I was at my mom's house, and I was like, man, I'm a loser. I had did everything they told me to do up to that point when I went through my DUI. I went to college. I got a degree in finance and investment management. Um, and, I thought that working in the corporate world that I was going to move up, to the next level. So a lot of people were like, well, you have to have a degree if you want to become the CEO, or if you want to be, a big time, in this banking industry, you're going to need a degree. So I ended up getting my degree, but that wasn't really what I was looking for. So when you talk about personal growth and development, you're talking about how to better your life, how to, you know, who are you? You want to know about who you are. So I was living at my mom's house and I heard Napoleon Hill on YouTube, this guy right here. And he was talking about the 17 laws of success. So he's like, hey, may you be seated, please. He's like, let me talk about a master key. When you find out the master key, you can literally have anything you want. You can have it in abundance. So I said, okay, this sounds interesting. And I'm like, so what's the master key? And he's like, well, everybody was born with two options, right? You have an option to control your mind. And then the other option is you failed to control your mind. So you got everything you didn't want. So think of your mind as a muscle. Think of your mind as you need to go to the gym, right? Everybody wants to look good, but they don't want to go to the gym. So the same way that the mind, you need to feed your mind this information. So this information is crucial for your success. If you want to be a millionaire or a billionaire, well, I'm here to tell you guys right now, you can become anything you want, because the subconscious mind, Napoleon Hill says, doesn't know the difference between a penny and $1 million. It doesn't know the difference between big or small. It accepts information that you repeat to yourself. That's why it's very important, like Napoleon Hill said to me back in 2010, to get yourself a notebook, okay? Now, in this notebook, you start writing down what is it that you want repetitively. And, you know, a lot of psychologists, when they were like trying to treat patients, they were treating the cause, but they weren't treating the effect, right? They were treating the outside, but they weren't treating the inside, the cause. So there was a psychologist in the early 1900s. His name was William James, and he said that your belief system is based upon your evaluation of something. And frequently, if you reevaluate a situation, your beliefs about that situation will change. So when you see the outside world, you analyze everything in the outside world, and then that creates your reality. Now, I know that sounds crazy because you're used to looking at the outside world and letting it, control the way you think, right? That's what everyone does. They see, someone maybe with straight A's, and you think, okay, well, he's going to grow up and he's going to be successful, but that's not true. So as I was doing my research, I already had came across Bob Proctor. So I started listening to his seminar, You Were Born Rich. Now, this was after like 3 years of listening to The Laws of Success and Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. There's even stories where Napoleon Hill was talking about his son. He had a son that was deaf. And he said that as he was growing up, the teachers used to give him a hard time because they said, your son, he can't hear anything in class. And he's like, you're wrong. My son can hear. And eventually, like, they created like a little microphone that you put in your ear or whatever, and then his son could hear. But the reason that happened was because he believed that his son could hear. So psychology has everything to do with your success. And To talk about psychology is basically to talk about the law of attraction. So they go hand in hand. Um, there was a doctor named Thurman Fleets back in 1934 in San Antonio, Texas, that created a picture of the stick person. So the stick person is basically like, I guess you could say it's a stick person with the top part representing your thought, your conscience, and then the bottom part is your subconscious. Okay, so the stick person looks like, I'll just draw a picture of the stick person with the top part representing your conscience, right? And then the bottom part represents your subconscious. Now, uh, Wallace Waddles in this book, he talks about the transmutation of energy. Energy just is. So the energy is coming through you. When it comes through you, you decide if you want to make it positive or negative. You send the image to the subconscious mind. And then it creates the circumstances, the events, everything starts lining up through this energy. Now, the energy is neither created nor destroyed. It's the cause and effect of itself. It's 100% evenly present in all places at all times. It's the space between me and you. So Wallace Waddles, he says that the space is intelligent. And in this book, The Science of Getting Rich, if you read it, he says there's a thinking stuff from which all things are made. A thought impressed upon this stuff produces the thing that's imagined by the thought. Now, he's basically talking about the same thing, the subconscious mind. Now, Napoleon Hill worked with Andrew Carnegie. Andrew Carnegie was the richest person in the 1900s. He was in the manufacturing of steel business. Andrew Carnegie told him a secret, okay? And everything I've learned all this stuff from studying Napoleon Hill and listening to his lectures and listening to YouTube and also listening to Bob Proctor. So when he met Andrew Carnegie, I actually heard Bob Proctor talk about this in New York in Carnegie Hall. I was actually in Carnegie Hall. So he says, Napoleon Hill was a broke newspaper reporter and he wanted to learn like from the richest people, right? Because he was writing about this stuff. And Andrew Carnegie told him, he says, when you think, you either, he said, any idea that's emphasized, that's either repeated, feared, or revered, meaning it could happen or it can happen, right? Taken over to the subconscious mind will begin to formulate itself into physical reality. So any idea feared or revered, meaning any idea that you emphasize, that you keep repeating, that's why auto-suggestion is really important. And he actually talks about that in Think and Grow Rich. He talks about auto-suggestion. So psychology has everything to do with your success. And the paradigm is who you are, right? So, the paradigm is, I'm Ross Garcia. I'm from the South Side of Chicago. I've been in jail. I almost killed someone. I'm a loser, right? I'm never going to amount to anything. But since there's a law called the law of polarity, there's an opposite to that. And the opposite is, hey, I have failed a lot. I have learned from my mistakes. I have studied the greatest mind in the world. I understand that as long as you can work with your higher faculties, you can literally manifest anything into physical reality. And I actually have some of my students that they see my life and they say, hey, you've done it with little to no effort. Now, there was effort. There was a lot of mistakes. There was a lot of situations where I was pissed off because we're human. There's a lot of mistakes, when you want to buy a property like this, right? Like this, or you're looking at properties inside of a book and the properties are, $2 to $20 million, right? There's going to be a lot of errors. There's going to be a lot of mistakes. It's like they say in the banking world, let me just throw some spaghetti on the wall and we're going to see what sticks, right? So Napoleon Hill was a broke newspaper reporter. He was born in Wise County, Virginia, I believe. And his mother died at a young age. So he had to shake that fear of poverty because his dad, was alone, and he ended up remarrying. So he always had that fear of poverty. And I had that fear of poverty as well, because I wasn't born to like a productive family. Like my dad worked construction. We heard a lot of stories where my grandfather was successful, a successful businessman, but my dad didn't follow that path. He's just worked construction to give us a better life. And I screwed up my life. I was hanging around with the wrong people when I was young. And and then like later on down the line, where I'm almost like 30 years old, I go through this DUI situation. And had drove drunk in the past, but like, guys, I was wasted. And I'm telling you, like, there's only two ways to change your paradigm. Okay. I learned this from Bob Proctor himself. There's only two ways to change a paradigm. And one way is an emotional impact, like what I went through. And the other way is studying this information, repetition. It's constant spaced repetition of this information. So I guess you could say I wanted to listen to Napoleon Hill every single day, because I knew that there was a secret, a master key. He calls it the master key. He's like, you're going to find the master key in these 17 principles, the laws of success. You're going to find the master key. Now, the master key is this. The master key is this. It's a lot of things, but this is one of the main things. The master key is that you only think 3% of the time. The other 97% of the time, the subconscious mind is thinking for you, okay? And in the subconscious mind, the bottom part of the stick person that Thurman Fleets made, in the bottom part of the subconscious is where your paradigm is. It's where who you are, your emotions, right? So you don't get what you want, you get what you fear, because the paradigm holds you back. And you're never going to change the paradigm until you go through an emotional situation that changes you for the better good. And sometimes people go through a negative situation when they lose loved ones, and they get what they don't want, they get what they fear, and they just throw their life in the gutter, right? So you have to understand that the power is always on. The subconscious mind is always thinking, and you only think 3% of the time. And what you have to do is you have to keep repeating to yourself, what is it that you really, really want? Your major definite purpose. After so much repetition, looking at nice properties, looking at, an abundant type of lifestyle, you're eventually going to get these things. Now, I've tested it, and I tested it back in 2013. I had wrote down that I wanted to start a successful business. And by 2017, I had, over 10 employees. I had properties that were paid off. I was making, let's say, maybe after all my payroll, I was making like $70,000, $80,000 a month, which is not bad, because up to that point, the most I've ever made was like $70,000 a year, right? So it's true. Andrew Carnegie told Napoleon Hill, any idea that's emphasized, that's either feared or revered, automatically taken over to the subconscious mind, will begin to formulate itself into physical reality. Any idea doesn't have to be your idea, guys. It could be the TV. It could be your family and friends. It could be your loved ones, right? So people tell you, hey, it's not possible. No, it can't happen. No, you're wasting your time. I love when people tell me that. You don't understand how much I love the challenge. Like, I go for what I fear. I go for the hard part. When Henry Ford wanted to make a V8 engine, the scientists told him it's impossible. This can't be done. The most we've ever going to have is a V6. He said, stop, keep working on the V8 engine. And guess what? The V8 engine was possible. When Thomas Edison wanted to create the incandescent light bulb, they told him, no, it's not going to work. It's not. Then he figured out how to create the light bulb through the method of combustion. That's why when you drop a bulb, it pops. They say he went through 10,000 failures, and he actually wrote down every failure that he was, doing. He had a book, and he was writing down all the failures. And out of one of those failures, he created the radio frequency. That's why now you can listen to the radio and you can tune in. When when John Kennedy asked Werner von Braun, hey, let's send the spaceship to the moon, he says in 5 words, the will to do it. Like, what is it going to take to send a spaceship to the moon? The will to do it. The will is a higher faculty. So you have the lower faculties, you have the higher faculties. You have what you can see, smell, taste, hear, and touch. Those are the lower. That's what you've been programmed to use since you're a child up to when you were 7 years old. They told you, put the crayons away, stop using your imagination, put your feet on the ground. You're going to need straight A's if you're going to be successful. And all you ever aim for while you're doing your homework is to get straight A's. But if you only knew straight F's also became successful. A dropout also became successful. A single mom that had a baby by herself also became successful. And when you go out to the real world, you have straight A's and you lose that twinkle in your eye. You lose that, ability to have faith. The people tear you down because of their belief systems. So psychology is like your belief system on an emotional level, not on a physical, on what's going on inside. That's why Bob Proctor says you can't paint the kitchen by painting the outside of the house. You have to start with you. You have to start with your kitchen, right? And there's a book called Psycho-Cybernetics by Maxwell Maltz. I would encourage you guys to read that book, Maxwell Maltz, Psycho-Cybernetics, where he describes women that go through plastic surgery and they feel better because on the outside, they've changed. So you're looking to better your life. You're looking for another result, but you're not working on it inside, on a subconscious level, because that's where the paradigm is. That's why you have to feel good when you attract these things. So those are the lower faculties. Then we have the higher faculties. We have the imagination, the will, reasoning, intuition, memory, and perception. Your perception is change how you see things and everything else will change. That's why William James says that your belief system is based upon your evaluation of something. And frequently, if you evaluate your situation, your beliefs about that situation will change because everything is perception. Everything is imagination. You picture what you want. You hold the picture with your will. And then it manifests into physical reality. The reason it doesn't manifest into physical reality right away is because there's a connection that's not being made. A connection meaning that you're not connecting with that level. So everything is a frequency. A car operates on a frequency. I'm operating on a frequency. We're vibrating right now. And in order for you to get the life that you want and the thing that you want, your emotional level, your subconscious level is not connecting to the frequency. That's why people can't take their income to the hundreds of millions of dollars. Now, to talk about money and transfer of wealth and what's going on with cryptocurrency, well, there is a law of compensation. And the law of compensation states that there has to be a need for what you do, your ability to do it, and the difficulty there will be in replacing you. So is there a need for cryptocurrency? Yes, there's a need because the money system is flawed. Now, there is money to be made in any type of environment, but the question is, what business are you in? How many people are you impacting in a positive way, right? How many people are you taking to the next level? Are you practicing what you preach? Are you actually doing what you said you're going to do, or are you fake? Because there's two sides. There's a positive and negative. Are you on the positive 100% of the time, or are you just faking it? Are you just pretending that I'm positive, but when I go home, I'm pissed off? So it takes a lot to get me pissed off, right? And one of the failures that I did when I was in boot camp was somebody, an instructor said, Garcia, you went to a cheap ass university. And I was like, I raised my hand after 10 minutes. She didn't think that I was going to bring it back up. And I said, you know what? I went to DePaul University. That's not a cheap ass university. So she's like, you know what, Garcia, get your ass over here. Start working out. Start doing some push-ups. Like you messed up really bad. So my family couldn't come visit me for like a month. I was on punishment. They had me running around the compound. Basically, I was treated like really bad, right? So you could pretty much say it was worse than going to the military. But that changed me. That want me to learn more about me. That wanted me to learn more about this law, about, you know, the transmutation of energy, about psychology, about people that talk about this stuff, like William James, like Thomas Troward from 1700, like Think and Grow Rich, Napoleon Hill, Bob Proctor. So I'll just tell you who trained who, right? Napoleon Hill was trained by Andrew Carnegie, okay? Napoleon Hill trained Earl Nightingale, which was the biggest radio host back in the 50s. Earl Nightingale trained Bob Proctor. So Bob Proctor wanted to know why his cleaning business was successful. He went to Chicago, where I'm from, and he worked with Earl Nightingale. It took him a long time to work with Earl Nightingale, but he ended up working with Earl Nightingale. And eventually he, you know, started a company that operates all around the world. So, you know, there's so many ways to get rich. There's so many ways to make millions of dollars, but you have to have your head straight. You have to practice what you have to, you know, practice what you preach. You have to have a good feeling about who you are. You have to have the self-image. That's why when Napoleon Hill was taking this task of writing about the laws of success, Andrew Carnegie told him, look at yourself in the mirror, tell yourself that you're going to do better than me. And he's like, how am I going to do better than you, Andrew Carnegie? Like, most of these buildings in New York are made with your steel. You're worth billions of dollars. How am I going to be better than you? And he said, look, it doesn't matter. It's called auto-suggestion. Look at yourself in the mirror. Say, I'm going to do better than Andrew Carnegie. I'm going to make millions and billions of dollars, right? And guess what? He said after 2 to 3 weeks of him telling himself that, it started to work. He went in front of a mirror and he told himself, Napoleon Hill, not only will you surpass Andrew Carnegie in life, but you're going to meet him at the post, beat him at the Grand Slam. Now, I'm sitting in New York City in Carnegie Hall, right? Which was named after Andrew Carnegie. Now, he mentored Napoleon Hill. And I'm looking at my mentor, Bob Proctor. Now, I owe my success to studying this material, to working with Napoleon Hill, even though he was dead, to working with Bob Proctor in his organization, right? So when people tell me, hey, Ross, I want you to be my mentor, I'm like, no, you don't. You don't want me to mentor you. And if I would put a price, it would be super high. So I'm not taking any students right now. But have I made millions of dollars? Yes. Am I better than you? No. Am I learning? Yes. I guess you could say I'm a simple guy, right? And I love to travel. I love going to nice restaurants. I love looking at properties like this, right? I was thinking about going to Cancun and just enjoying that baby blue water out there. But I can do that. I can do that because of the law of compensation. Now, just to go deeper, the energy just is. It's neither created nor destroyed. The energy is the same energy that you eat, right? The fruit, the trees, everything is energy. And just to talk about the energy, you're talking about trees, right? And trees, they go inside of the planet, and when they get oil, they're getting oil from those dead trees. So that oil fuels up your car and you're able to go from point A to point B. So a lot of people don't understand that this energy is inside of the ground. It's inside of you and it's looking to become. That's what Wallace Waddle says. He says there's a thinking stuff from which all things are made. A thought impressed upon this stuff produces the thing that's imagined by the thought. What are you thinking about? Are you thinking about poverty, misery, lack, limitation? Good, tune into it. It'll be delivered right on schedule. Or are you thinking about ways to make money, working with the right people, working with people that have already done it? right? Are you listening to broke people? Are you listening to people that are trying to figure out a way? Or are you listening to people that are already know the way? And I remember reading about the laws of success, and Napoleon Hill says, I'm not part of the rat race. I'm not out there from 9 to 5 working. I'm done with that. And I could actually say that I'm done with that as well. I'm not going to participate. If it has nothing to do with this material, if it has nothing to do with traveling and enjoying life and being with your family, being around people that genuinely love you, not fake ass people. I'm talking about people that will treat you the same way if you were broke or if you're worth a couple billion. How do you see you? How do other people see you? What do other people think of you? And change the way that other people think of you through your perception, the higher faculty. So everything works hand in hand. Nothing is separated in this. The energy works hand in hand with the psychology. The psychology works hand in hand with the way you think. These successful people, they told you their version, but all the versions are the same. What are you thinking about? Do you have a goal written down? Why? Because they asked Van Gogh, why do you do so beautiful paintings? He says, I dream my painting, then I paint my dream. So you need to dream more. If you're looking at a nice car and you're like, oh my God, that person's successful. Look, F the car, okay? Focus in your mind on what you really want. Don't worry about other people. You know, that's why I'm working on a book right now called You're the Opportunity, because the opportunity is inside of you. This energy is literally coming inside of you, and you're creating beautiful pictures of abundance, of joy, of happiness, of traveling, of not being in misery and debt, but the opposite. And then your outside world is becoming what you're thinking about. The energy just is. It's neither created nor destroyed. It's not even positive or negative energy. It has no polarity. It's unadulterated energy, and it's all around you. There was a photographer back in the 30s named Semyon Kurling, a Russian photographer. He perfected a form of photography where you would take a picture and you could see the mass leaving the body. It's called Kurlian photography. Google it, guys. Kurlian photography, because this energy is all around you. If you Google Frank Mesmer from 1750, Frank Mesmer, he was a German, Austrian. He created what we call mesmerism. When you mesmerize somebody, when somebody looks sharp and comes in the room with a nice watch, you know, oh my God, this person's a multimillionaire. This person's successful, right? It's called mesmerism, when you mesmerize somebody. And when you mesmerize somebody, they're in a state of awe. They're just shocked. And when you're in a state of mesmerism is when you put in the seed into the subconscious mind. When you literally transmute a signal to that person's mind. Why do you think it's called television? They're telling you a vision of what's happening, and you're in the imagination with a box in front of you and 2 antennas. So yes, you're a broadcasting station and you're a receiving station. You're sending out a signal and you're also receiving a signal. But I want to let you guys know right now that I don't watch TV. I don't watch the news. I don't worry about what's going on in the outside or there's a gas shortage. I only worry about what's going on the inside. I worry about the higher faculties. I think about the higher faculties. Worry is a negative state. I think of the higher faculties, okay? So let me correct myself. I think of the higher faculties. I think about the imagination, the will. Imagination, reasoning, the will. Now, to talk about the will is to talk about Napoleon Bonaparte, the general from France. He took over France because he had a strong will. The people were telling him it's not, the circumstances aren't just right to attack. And he's like, circumstances, I create the circumstances, attack. And he's the only one that actually went into Russia because he was really good to work with the higher faculties. Work with the higher faculties, your imagination, the will, reasoning, intuition, memory, and perception. You have a memory. You can remember things from your past, and you can change your future by changing the way you see you. Because you're not even your name. You're just a spirit. You have this energy. You're here to create. And the law states that either you're moving forward or you're moving backward. So what do you want to become? Do you have it written down? Right? Do you have it written down? Do you auto suggest like Napoleon Hill when he was a broke newspaper reporter and Andrew Carnegie told him, go in front of a mirror, tell yourself, not only are you going to meet me at the post, you're going to beat me at the Grand Slam. And then Napoleon Hill, when he died, he created all these books, Outwitting the Devil, How to Raise Your Own Salary, you know, Think and Grow Rich, The Laws of Success. And he's made millions of millionaires. Why? Because of the principles. Andrew Carnegie made about 10 millionaires. Charles Schwab, Schwab Investments was one of them. But Napoleon Hill, millions of millionaires through his teachings, through his books, through the laws of success, through trial and error, trial and error. If you fail, that's fine. If you fail, get used to failing. Get used to screwing up, doing things wrong. The more you fail, the more you're going to make money. The more you fail, the more you're going to grow. The more you learn from other people, and I'm talking about people that have the results, people that are making millions of dollars in a negative economy, because you create your economy. You create your economy. So I looked into it. I went back as far as Frank Mesmer, when he created animal magnetism and put somebody in a hypnotic state, and he would send a signal into that person's subconscious mind and heal the person in a subconscious state. The same thing with William James. He was the first professor from Harvard. He taught psychology at Harvard University. And he says that your belief system is based upon your evaluation of something. So everything you're evaluating is what you're believing. Everything that you see is, oh, this is this, this is this, this is this. But it's not always so. The truth, he says in this book, chapter 4, I believe, he says that the truth is, in The Science of Getting Rich, he says that the truth is never in the appearances of things. So not everything that you see is what it is. So you have to change the way you think. You have to have a little bit of these faculties, a little bit of, I guess, an edge. You have to be on the edge to take a risk. You can't be fixed and live your life as a system, as a way of doing things and in order. Yes, you need order when it comes to these principles, but at the same time, you need to start moving around. You need to start changing things in your house. Nature abhors a vacuum. You need to create a space for the good that you desire. If you're not going to wear those clothes, get rid of it. If you don't have room in your house, get rid of it. That's how it works. So, you know, Bob Proctor, he learned from Earl Nightingale, and Earl Nightingale says that the subconscious mind is like the dirt. It's like the dirt, like the ground. He said it's immoral. He said you can plant nightshade, a deadly poison, and not even a 16th of an inch away, you can plant corn, a sweet food. It gives you what you plant. So when the Wright brothers, when they wanted to create an airplane so, you know, planes could fly, but guess what? There's been planes flying here all along. You know, you just can't see them. You talk about success and you owning a beautiful house, you own the house because nothing's created, nothing's destroyed. Everything you want's already here, but it's in a certain frequency. It's in a certain dimension. The reason you can't connect to that dimension is because in a subconscious level and an emotional level, you don't feel right. You don't believe. Napoleon Hill says there's a difference between wishing for a thing and being ready to receive it. No one's ready for a thing until they believe they can acquire it. He said no more effort is required to aim high in life than to demand prosperity and abundance than there is to accept lack and limitation. There is a polarity at play here. When the energy comes in, it's getting divided. The energy's coming in and you're moving the energy to the right, to the positive side, or you're moving the energy to the negative side. I had a guy, he called me last month. He said, hey, Ross, I want you to teach me this information. I said, grab a piece of paper, a blank piece of paper and a pen and write down a line right through the middle, just like this. I said, write a line right through the middle. And on the right side is the positive, on the negative, The other side is the negative, just like that. And I said, every time you have a positive thought, write that down. Every time you have a negative thought, write that down. And then at the end of the day, we're going to count them. It's that easy. It's a numbers game, because we're dealing with the polarity, positive and negative. Positive pictures, negative pictures. Oh, I'm pissed off. I'm not in a good mood. Write it down. Oh, this person did this, and this to me. Write it down. Oh, I can't make millions of dollars because my uncle told me this. Write it down. Then you write down all the positive. Oh, I'm going to make millions of dollars because there's a transfer of wealth. Oh, I'm going to do this because of this. And you write down all the positive negatives. At the end of the day, let's see where we're at with your mind. Because your mind, William James, the professor from Harvard in the 1900s, he says that you have about 60,000 thoughts per day. Out of those 60,000 thoughts, 97% of them, they have nothing to do with your major definite purpose. 60,000 thoughts about the future. Like, oh man, my rent is due, my car payment's due. Oh man, I hope I don't end up in the hospital. You know, I have problems with my leg. It's called a hypochondriac. Napoleon Hill talks about it. A hypochondriac is someone that talks themselves into a disease, an illness. There's a story that Napoleon Hill talked about, a lady that had cancer on her left hand. She didn't have cancer, but she said, the old lady said, one day I'm going to die of cancer from my left hand. One day I'm going to die of cancer to my left hand. She kept repeating it. And after like 10 years, guess what? She died of cancer from her left hand. Napoleon Hill says, I was going through the newspaper and I said, oh my God, there goes the lady that kept saying she's going to die from cancer from her left hand. It's called a hypochondriac. Google that, write it down. And remember that your mind needs order. Your mind needs to focus with your will, with your higher faculty, to attract these things that you want. We always had flying vehicles. We just can't see them. We always had the internet. We just couldn't see it. We always had cars. We just couldn't see them. And when you're going upon the task of making your income a lot higher, you need to act as if. I would recommend a book by Stella Adler. It's called The Art of Acting by Stella Adler. And I would get that book and read it because she taught method acting. And I was actually going to the school, Stella Adler School in Hollywood, because I lived in Hollywood, California. But because of the coronavirus situation, they closed down the school and they did everything online. But some of the actors that were taught this method of acting were Al Pacino. It was Marlon Brando from The Godfather. Also, the guy from the movie Casino. This guy, Robert De Niro. They were all taught, Warren Beatty. They were all taught method acting through her principles. So you have to act as if. When you see people wealthy, making millions of dollars, just be like them. You don't have to feel that you're not worthy. You have to start feeling that you deserve everything life has to offer, because you were born rich, like Bob Proctor said. You were born rich. It's just that you just couldn't focus in your mind. Your mind is not your brain. Your brain is something physical. Your mind is an activity. It's moving at a high speed of vibration, and it wants everything that you want. It wants those things, and it could attract those things, because those things that you want are materialistic things. Those things that you want, like a nice car, a house, some sunglasses, all those things, they're just things. But your thoughts are things. Your thoughts turn into things. The thing wasn't just there. Like they did an analysis, and they said, was the tree there already? Did the tree fall there already? Or did you notice it there? And, you know, a lot of the times you don't notice the things around you. You just go for it. But you need to start noticing things, because these things are coming from subconscious. And I know that sounds totally illogical, but these things are coming from the ether, which the ether is the space between me and you. And the ether is intelligent. The ether is trying to give you these things, but you can't tap into the ether because you're more physical than spiritual. You're more physical. You're too busy looking at the physical. You need to stop looking at the lower faculties, at what you can see, smell, taste, hear, and touch. You need to start working on your imagination, the will, reasoning, intuition, memory, perception, the higher faculties, the imagination. Close your eyes, go there, because that place that's in your mind is reality. And I know that reality cannot be what's in your mind, but they're both the same thing. The dream world and the real world are just as real, and they're both the same. That's why Van Gogh said, I dream my painting, then I paint my dream. So everything started off in your imagination. Thomas Edison, when he created the light bulb, he figured it out through the method of combustion, but he figured it out because he would take cat naps, and he was letting the ether communicate to him. He was letting something communicate him, and he figured it out through the method of combustion. So that's how, like, when you burn charcoal, you put water on it and dirt at a specific time, and it creates carbon. And the same thing with the oxygen. So when you drop a bulb, it pops because the oxygen is in the bulb. That's how he was able to figure it out. But he went through 10,000 failures to figure it out. So you have to fail, because if you're scared of failure, if you're scared of what other people think about you, like how I was when I was in the military program and the drill instructor started talking bad about me, then I'm not going to succeed, right? But how do you take your annual income and turn it into your weekly income? How do you go from making a $2 million to $150 million? How do you go from running a business to running multiple businesses? How do you go from traveling the world, not having to worry about what other people think or what other people say about you? Not worry about how you look. Even though appearances are important, it is good to appear important, but you have to feel good about you. I remember when I was doing modification and mortgages, one of my friends was like, dude, you're in the wrong business. But if he only knew, because literally I started a company and made millions of dollars because I went on the opposite side of the mortgage industry, which was the modification business. So nothing's created or destroyed. Everything you want's already here, but you have to write it down. You have to, just like when you do homework, you have to create some type of system so you can analyze things and be like, oh man, this is working. Or you know what, this is not working. You're not getting the results because you're just not in that vibration. You don't believe it. William James, Ralph Waldo Emerson, all these people, they said the same thing. They said, believe in your belief, and your belief will literally create the fact. Believe in your belief, and your belief will actually create the fact. Ralph Waldo Emerson says that the only thing that can grow is the thing you give energy to. You're giving your energy to the wrong person. You're giving your energy to the TV. Everything is energy. What are you giving your energy to? To your friends that say you cannot get to the next level in your company? You're giving your energy to broke ass people that never made millions and millions of dollars, people that can't even retire everyone in their family, right? People that can't even travel the world. And because of this coronavirus situation, you need even more belief. Your belief system is based upon your evaluation of something. Frequently, if you reevaluate a situation, your beliefs about that situation will change. And it's not going to change until you reevaluate your perception, positive and negative polarities. There's a polarity at play, a polarity, positive and negative. That's why I told my friend, the one that called me, I said, write this down, because it's that easy. The more that you shift, that's why it's called a paradigm shift. The more you shift to the right side, the positive side, and you take risks, and you stop using the lower faculties, you start creating, you start imagining, you start like connecting to the things, the material things, or the relationships, or the vacations, or the homes. It's a feeling. And you have to feel it already now. You have to feel it now. Okay. And just to leave you guys with this, Bob Proctor and John Canary were partners back in the 80s. Okay. They did a lot of seminars together. And I love John Canary. I talked to him over the phone. He's older now. He just wrote a book not too long ago, and he's in Canada. Okay. But he was Bob Proctor's partner. Now, there's a video that John Canary did with Bob Proctor. And Bob Proctor in that video said that when Jack Canfield wanted to write a book called Chicken Soup for the Soul. Now, Jack Canfield, he made it on the Guinness Book of World Records for most books ever sold. He sold millions and millions of copies of Chicken Soup for the Soul. But when he told Bob Proctor about his idea, Bob Proctor's like, it's not going to work. And then Bob Proctor thought about it. He's like, man, how can I tell Jack Canfield that he can't sell millions of books, right? So he's like, you know what, Jack, you're right. You could sell millions of copies of Chicken Soup for the Soul. And it's possible. I can't doesn't exist. It's I can. It only exists in your mind. The picture, the image. When you can't, it's a picture that you're creating in your mind. When you can, it's a picture that's being created in your mind. It's a polarity, positive and negative pictures. When you get on the right polarity, and when you're blazed, I'm talking about emotionally, doing the fun stuff. Me, I like to play basketball. I like to listen to good music. Okay. Recently, because of the coronavirus, I like to cut my own hair. All right. But you got to do what you love to do. You got to be happy with you. You got to be comfortable in your own shoes. You got to have a good self-image. And when that connection is made, you go into the higher brackets of income. You go into brackets where even you are like, what the hell is going on? Because the subconscious mind doesn't know the difference between a penny and $1 billion. It doesn't know the difference between reality and the dream world. And the more that you start thinking about that, the more you're going to connect, because you never need gasoline to drive your car. You never needed fuel to get you from point A to point B. Because in 1,000 years, you're not going to need fuel. Okay. So everything is a perception of what you thought reality was, because you've been programmed since you were a child. You've been programmed to think that's a cat, that's a pig, that's a horse, which is fine, right? But now you need a new program to get you to the higher echelons of income, to the higher levels of income, to the 10, 50, 100, 300, a billion, 2, 3, 4, 5 billion. Because nothing's created, nothing's destroyed. So it's about growing and experiencing something that you haven't experienced in the past, because you're here for a reason. And only you know that reason. And my reason is to help people get to where they want to be. I've taken people that even me has totally shocked me, went from nothing to something quick within 7 months, 3 months. But it's the law through me, because of so many years of listening to Napoleon Hill and believing, and listening to Bob Proctor and working with him directly through trial and error, through failure. Because failure is good. So get used to failing, get used to getting pissed off, because it's only going to last a little bit, and then you're going to get to the next level. And I'm telling you guys right now, this information totally changed my life. My parents, I'm actually in Texas, they just have a house paid off cash, okay? Cash, no loan on the house. So anything is possible. Napoleon Hill says there's a difference between wishing for a thing and being ready to receive it. There's a difference between wishing and being ready to receive it. Are you ready to receive the good that you desire? Have you written down? The first step is get a pen, like Napoleon Hill said, get a pen, get yourself a notebook, write down what you really, really want. And I'm telling you, the circumstances, the events are going to line up, and everything's going to start to look like that imagination. My sister had a dream board. She said, man, I'm going to start working on my dream board. Most of these houses that are here, I've already created this stuff. So I started getting excited, and I found this notebook of beautiful houses in Spain. And I'm like, you know what? You're right. I'm just going to start looking at these properties right here. So go for it, guys. All right. And I hope you guys learned a lot in this call. I love doing the calls because they help me so much in my personal life, in my business life, right? And if you guys have any questions, just reach out to me, and we're going to do another call within a week. And thank you guys for your time. Have a good Monday. Enjoy. Peace out. Have a good one, guys.